Incredibly moving pictures coming to us out of the U.S. tonight as protesters continue fighting then for justice in terms of the killing of George Floyd. We continue our discussion on race, rage and justice. So how does a society begin to reform? We speak to Psychologist Nolitha Tsengiwe. Nolitha, of course, much of the change that needs to happen is not just structural, but a lot of it also has to do with our psyche, how those who are perpetrators of racism and those who have lived under or experienced racism, there's a healing and a transformation that needs to take place on both ends.
Yes. When you talk about structural racism, you're talking about a psyche that has a belief that one group of people is better than another. So the dominant group that has power holds this idea about itself and then projects onto the marginalized group. So if the dominant group, the group that has power, believes that somehow it's better, it's more intelligent, more superior, more capable, more advanced, it then projects the opposite qualities to the marginalized group of people. So here we can make use of the metaphor of the iceberg. What we see is that there is injustice. There are these individual acts of injustice. And then action, because there are laws, there are policies that address that. But nothing really changes because we are not addressing the psyche of that institution or the psyche of a society that has an ideology that other people are more equal than others. Therefore, there is no valuing of all people. When you talk about rage that we're seeing, Cathy, it's not just about this sad event of a killing by a white policeman of a black man. It is about this idea of not valuing equally all human beings. The rage is coming from that. And this is historical. It's intergenerational, where one group that has power that believes it's superior oppresses the other groups that are marginalized. So if we are going to turn this around, where do we begin? You are right, Cathy. We have to begin with the individual psyche that has been impacted. So when you are oppressed, when you are dominated, you internalized oppression. Then you dominate those within your group who have less power than you. So if we're talking about change, we're going to be looking at what's the work that needs to happen at the individual level, at interpersonal, at group, at institutional, and society. So if we look at what's the work that needs to be done, it is about engaging and inquiring into these wrong, irrational, dangerous beliefs that somebody else is less than who you are. We have to recover our humanity by seeing that we objectify in order to dominate and control. We have an I-it relationship which erodes our own sense of humanity. So in the States right now, what is happening is that there are conversations that are happening within affinity groups where Black people who are marginalized on their own are looking at themselves and inquiring into the impact their own attitude about themselves. Also, there are more progressive white people. I know, for example, in Boston, there was a group of about 200 white people who are having a conversation that relates to how they can use their privilege to address these inequalities that are structural.
Sure, sure.